Hi everyone, welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. Delighted on this episode to be talking with artist, comics creator Vernon Smith. Vernon, thank you for jumping in, joining, and bringing the Trek shout out as well as the TMNT background action that's currently happening.
Oh, awesome. Glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me on.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I usually like to start out by mentioning a few works, and so of course the first one that I'll bring up is the amazing Bigfoot Frankenstein, your collaboration with Mark Bertolini. You also have a book called Hide that
Oh, yeah.
is fascinating storytelling. And then, admittedly, I haven't read this, but I've seen the images online and they look incredible, and that is Night Stars. Night Stars as
Oh,
well.
yeah. So that one I just lettered. That was a buddy of mine, Tim Laddie.
Oh,
He,
nice, nice, nice. Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
he wrote and drew that one.
Cool, cool. So you are a collaborator in terms of lettering as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's a buddy of mine, and he was like doing his own creator owned book
Hmm. Hmm.
through Kickstarter like about 10 years ago or so. And I was like, yeah, I love lettering, so I'd be happy to help you out on it.
Cool, cool. You might be the first person. I've had letterers on, but you might be the first person that's actually said, I love lettering.
Yeah. Well, it's like to me it's a different type of visual storytelling.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like I remember reading and loving a lot of comics from like the 70s, especially like seemed to really kind of be the height of working lettering into, like a lot of the especially Will Eisner stuff. Um like he was really kind of a master of visual storytelling, but he'd also like work lettering into it too. And then like when I got into like indie comics, reading stuff like Cerebus, where like they worked lettering into the art. So yeah, to me it's something that i I do enjoy doing.
Yeah, nice, nice. You mentioned visual storytelling there, and I usually like to start with a question that sort of gets at how you decided that comics were the space for you, and how did that part of your journey come to be?
For me, it started actually with comic strips when I was
Hmm.
like in
Hmm.
elementary school, reading stuff in the newspaper, and then even getting collected books of those strips. Stuff like Garfield was one of the ones that I remember having just volumes of, like I guess kind of long graphic novels.
Hmm.
Her trade paperbacks, I guess, would be, if you put that term back into 1983 or whenever it was that I was getting that stuff. And I would do comic strips with friends of mine in elementary school, and we created our own characters, and then we would just rip off whatever comic strips we were reading and thought were funny, but would change the ending so it wasn't a complete plagiarism, but then it would also kind of neuter the punchline to where it wasn't as funny as it was. But I mean, we were eight, so
Yeah, yeah.
you better.
Practicing the form, practicing the form.
Yeah. And but then like later, like I really got into comics in like junior high and definitely high school. And again, it was, I had a friend of mine who like, he got me into like skateboarding and punk music and stuff. And we were also getting into comics. And so we would like do comics back and forth, not really working together so much, but like more, he would do his, I would do mine. And then like we'd show them to each other and then show them to all our friends. But it was kind of mostly for each other because most people didn't really get what we were doing. So that's really kind of how I first started getting into wanting to draw comics.
Yeah, yeah, very cool, very cool, and I appreciate the work that you do and the collaboration. I am curious about sort of the particular energy, the effect that you try to capture in your work, which I guess kind of in a way goes back to your inspirations as well.
Um, I guess it is more of I try and capture. like I said, visual storytelling. Like if it's something that either I'm writing or if I'm working on with another writer, like the piece as a whole, I like it to be good, but also like if you just saw the pages by themselves, being able to follow the story
Mhm.
sequentially, and it, not just being like, oh, cool splash page throwing a bus through a television studio or whatever, but like just being able to follow the pacing, like cool camera angles, just different experimenting with the look and the flow of the page. That's
Mhm.
that's something that, I want it to be unique and interesting and not just kind of cookie cutter looking.
Yeah, yeah. And we mentioned Mark Bertolini already, but
Yeah.
um, any particular shout outs to collaborators or positive experiences along the way that you'd like to mention?
Well, definitely Mark. I mean, working on Bigfoot Frankenstein with him was amazing. He's so cool and so open to things like, he like it was his idea, and but he was still like, yeah, you're gonna be co-creator, and I was like, oh, okay. And but then like he actually would bring me in on stuff and like ask my opinion, and if I had an idea, he would actually consider it and then sometimes even go with it too, which like for me, whenever I've written stuff, if I had someone be like, how about this? I'd be like, no, 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 I'm good. This, is how I want it to be. And but he was like really open to working together on stuff and like really made it a co-creator project, which was really cool. And we're actually working on another book, this time through Scout, called Happy Land, that hopefully
Nice.
I'll be able to get back to working on soon. Like we did an 8-page pitch that'll be like the beginning of the issue. And but I'm currently working on another book with a writer named Kurt Amaker called Tad Caldwell and the Monster Cult,
Hmm.
which is a sequel to a book he'd done with another artist called Tad Caldwell and the Monster Kid. And I've got like about, I don't know, 20, 30 pages left on that. That's like a 150-page graphic novel.
That's quite a
Um,
journey.
yeah, and it's really fun to work on. It's like a black and white kind of set in the 90s book, and that's like whenever he'd hit me up about it, like I'd read some of his other stuff, and I was like, "Oh, please be a Tad Caldwell book," and he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "All right, cool, yeah, I'm definitely all in." Um, and aside from that, like other collaborations have mostly been whenever I've done children's books.
Hmm.
And yeah, every writer that I've worked with on those have been great as well. I haven't had any really bad experiences working with anyone.
This
And
is good. This is good. And may it
yeah,
continue to be positive.
right, yeah. And another recent thing. Oh, I did a Ninja Turtles cover
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
the Halloween issue. Didn't really work with the writers, mostly just working with the editor, and they were amazing as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
so far everything's been good.
Cool, cool. Yeah, and glad to see the TMNT. There we go. The art there. And
Thanks.
yeah, you mentioned kind of working in children's books as well as and children's illustration as well
Right.
as graphic novels. And I have a lot of people that come on that have worked in sort of both of those, and they talk about just the long process of the graphic novel. So any insights into how to kind of manage your uh, journey in that way to get something that's 100, 200 pages or more, um, which is quite a lot of work.
Yeah. Don't give up.
Hmm.
Um, don't be afraid to ignore everything else in your life. um, but also make sure you're not ignoring it to the point to where it leaves you.
Yes, yes. Hmm.
Specifically, relationships and friendships, but you do have to kind of make a choice between the two sometimes. Like if you have friends that are like, hey, we're doing this, or you want to go out, or oh, I want to play this video game or watch this movie. Like there's definitely like the thing that I would always do was each day I would have an idea in my head of how much work I wanted to get done,
Hmm.
whether it was half a page, 2 pages, like whatever it was. And if I didn't get it done, then I'd have to look at everything that stopped me from getting it done. Like if it was going out, if it was watching TV, if it was, eating, like whatever,
Right.
and look at every little thing and then just be like, okay, I gotta make a choice.
Yeah.
And if you want to get the work done, then that's what you have to go with. And with friends, they usually understand. It gets a little difficult with relationships. So, make sure you find someone that's good for sticking around and also make sure that you make it up to them.
Yes, yes. And please continue eating. Please continue eating.
Yes.
That's important. That's very important. You've already mentioned a couple of projects that are on the way that are in development that you're working on. So excited to see the work from Scout and then
Yeah.
the collaboration that you mentioned as well. Curious about spaces where people can go to learn more, to kind of follow along, to get the books and that sort of thing.
Sure. I'm Vernon Draws on most socials, but I'm not particularly active on them as much as I should be. I mean, I've got stuff on like, DeviantArt, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. The Probably Instagram is the one that I update the most. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, and just opened an Etsy shop, but I only have like one thing in it, but it's also under Vernon Draws. So if I, put up things like commissions or like, you know, comics or graphic novels, that would be probably where I would put them up.
Nice, nice. And I'm investigating Tad Codwell. This might be something that I'm putting on my reading list. 80s set, New Orleans. Looks like some nice horror throwout stuff. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's super cool. And the sequel takes place a couple of years later. So I think it's like 90, 91, something
Hmm.
like that. Because it's like the first one, yeah, it's like these high school kids, and then the second one takes place like, kind of college age, but like 19, 20-year old. Um, but yeah, it's super cool. Like kind of like kids 80s movies from back then. I, I don't want to compare it to Stranger Things because it's not really, but just something to like kind of throw into the, I mean, but you could also go like Monster Squad, like from the
Hmm.
80s and stuff like
Hmm.
that, like just kind of, teenage sleuths investigating supernatural occurrence, stuff like that. Bit of time travel.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Well, I won't keep you from that project. I appreciate the time. Looking forward to seeing that come out into the world. And thank you, Vernon, for jumping in. May the creating continue.
Thanks so much for having me. I always love talking about myself and anything I'm working on.
Sounds great.
um,
Sounds great.
but yeah, no, for real. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. Glad to have you back anytime.
Cool. Sounds good to me.